Hi, it's Sarah. Welcome back to my channel and thanks for joining me. Today I'm doing another layout using Vicki Boutin's Sweet Rush collection. This will be a companion layout for the one I created yesterday of James picking strawberries in the field, and so this is the one of Amelia. I wanted to create a mixed media background to start with, and I wanted to show how easy it is using these watercolour paints from Vicki Boutin. I'm not using any special paper. The card does get a little bit warped, but I don't mind that. It's just a heavy 250 gram white cardstock that I'm using, and I'm just slowly building up the different colours. I like a variety of colours in the background, as you'll see. So just adding water and some splatters, and then keep adding more water just to blend it all together. Checking that I'm happy with the width of my mixed media, that it'll hold the photos nicely, because this is almost going to be like a shelf for them to sit on top of, and then the title will go on that as well. So once I'm happy with the shape and the placement, I'll leave it to dry and then come back. And you'll see in a minute I tilt the cardstock just to get some more of the pigments towards the bottom. I like the look that creates when it dries. So it didn't take long, it's very hot at the moment, so there it is, dry. And I'm not quite happy, it's a bit too blue for me, so I'm going in with a bit more yellow just to change the green slightly. That's the beauty of watercolours, you can just keep layering and changing so you're happy with what you've got. Checking against the green that I'm going to be using on the layout just to check that it doesn't clash, and then going in and matting. I've cut this bit out of the video because I don't think you need to see me matting my photos onto white cardstock. So there you have it, 2 photos matted. Again, using scrap card. And now I'm going to come in with some mats. And this is a piece that I used yesterday on yesterday's layout, and I'll always try and use the scraps that I've got first because I am a bit lazy and I can't be bothered cutting things if I don't need to. And I don't like lots of little pieces hanging around, so I'll try and use them as quickly as I can. Absolutely adore this paper, I love both sides of it. So just cutting a piece to mat behind the photo, and then spend ages jiggling, trying to work out exactly where to put it. I want the photo slightly stepped, but I can't decide which way. And again, this strip that I'm putting at the bottom is a piece left over from yesterday when I trimmed the pattern paper down and took a ½ an inch, I think it was, off the side. This is the paper that was left. So just cutting it so it's not 12 by 12 and sits nicely beneath the photos. And now I'm going to go through the sticker book again and choose some borders to go with that piece of paper underneath. Straight away I'm drawn to this blue one to echo the blue in Amelia's dress. And then I want to bring in some of the darker colours. She's got a very dark navy blue centre to the flowers that are on her dress, so I just wanted to bring that in a little bit, just to add dimension and depth really. So choosing the two black bits. Wasn't quite happy with the positioning, it was a bit too far over to the left. I do like to offset things rather than having them all layered on top of one another, but it was a bit too far. Still playing with which way to step them. glue them together so that I can't keep messing. And then I'm going to mount them onto funky foam. I tend to do this with my photos just so that they remain the focal point of the layout and they stand out above everything else. And then I realise I've not cut it quite big enough, so go in with the scraps and just build up the back. More faffing, moving. And now I'm coming in with some of the flowers. On yesterday's video, if you watched that, you will have seen that I said I was going to fussy cut the flowers on the sheet, and that's what I spent last night doing. So now I've got a huge pile of these, and there were some more reddy colours, some pink ones, and yellow, yellowy orange, and I wanted to get all the different ones on there, so just messing about and playing with positioning. And now I'm going to rough up the edges with my Tim Holtz Edge Distresser, just because we've got the more vintage feel with the watercolours and the mixed media. I just felt that it would be better. I tend to distress my edges most of the time. Just like the look of it more. It's personal preference, I suppose. Just distressing the edges that are showing. I don't need to go all the way around. There we go. And again, more faffing with the positioning. Sometimes it's obvious and sometimes it just takes me forever to work out exactly where I want them. So once I put these flowers in, I decided I definitely need something else to go with it. So I grab a piece of scrap paper and a set of stamps. I think this is called Sunshine, this set of stamps. And I love the leaves on here. So I'm going to go in with my Distress Oxides. This is Bundled Sage. And just stamp some onto the scrap paper. And then I think this is Pine Needles. I'll try and remember to link everything below that I've used. And then just activating the oxide in those inks. And it sort of fills in the blanks because these are line stamps. I wanted the leaves to be coloured in. So just using plain water and mixing between the two so that some of the Pine Needles stamp goes into the Bundled Sage and vice versa. And then when I've done that, I go in with Candied Apple and the red heart and the heart to create some red hearts. And again, I'll add some water afterwards, but I do go a little bit mad with the water and it bleeds a little bit too much. But I just cut it into a heart. You'll see later, I just cut it into a heart shape anyway. But next time I'll be a bit more cautious with the water on that one. And finally this fern leaf, which is absolutely beautiful. Again, using the same two greens. And when I'm going between greens, I don't bother cleaning the stamp. I would if I was going into a red or something, but it doesn't really matter with the greens. And then just dotting a little bit of water on. I think I learnt my lesson with those hearts, not to go too heavy-handed. And bringing some of that colour back into those Bundled Sage leaves. And then I'll put those to one side to dry. And go back to the layout again. cleaning up my desk where I managed to stamp on it. So now the title, using my good old hardcover thickers. I did it off screen because they're so messy now. They're all falling off the backing sheet, so I just pulled out the letters I needed and put them onto my ruler, ready to position on the layout. And I think it's while I'm doing this I realise that I haven't actually stuck anything down, so once the title's there and it's centralised, I think I go in and start sticking things. Yeah, here we go. Starting with that border this time because I've got the title where I want it to be and I want that to be relatively tight up against the title, so just making sure that goes down first, and then it'll be easier to position exactly where the photos go afterwards. Use my wet glue for ease because I'm happy with the placement. I don't want to mess about pulling it all apart and then forgetting where it was. It's running out and the nozzle's getting a tiny bit clogged. So just taking my time and then checking that everything's square. Back in with the flowers again. And I decide, because of the photos, because of James and Amelia on the right hand side at the top of the photo, I wanted the eye to be drawn from the top right hand corner of the layout down to the bottom left. So the way I'm positioning these flowers is just to create that slight diagonal line. Finding some with the petals cut off to put on the edges rather than choosing a whole one and then cutting the petals off. I'm quite frugal when it comes to using things. I don't want to waste anything if I can help it. So now coming back in with picking as the second part of the title. And then using my tea ruler to act as my guide to stick those down in a straight line. And I'm not too worried about sticking these on with wet glue because I'm going to stitch through my title, so it's just a case of making sure that they're in the right place and pressing them in place. So back on to adhering down the flowers. And some of them I want to pop up onto foam, so I'm just choosing the ones that are going to be flat before going back in with the foam tape. So I love this way of creating your own embellishments. It's great if you aren't satisfied with the ephemera that you've got and want something a bit different. Look at the shapes that are on the papers because it really stretches your stash doing this. And then when I see the back of the flowers, and remember it's got this lovely navy, the small piece that I have left, I decide to introduce that just in tiny bits on the layout. Working out where I want it to go. And I'm happy with that. And then I see this navy border and think, well, that might be a nice addition as well. So just dotting the navy around the layout. Once those bits are down, I realise I want a third. I tend to do things in threes. And I don't want it to be vertical, the same as the first piece, so I'm playing around but realise it's the fact that it's vertical that I don't like, so it ends up at the bottom here, and that's quite a nice design triangle between the three pieces. Again, just messing, deciding whether it should be over or under that little squiggle border that I've got there, but it rests on top in the end. And sometimes it's important to go through these processes to check that you're happy. Now it's just lifting the layout up to have a good look at it and check that everything was stuck down. And of course the title moved. I'm going through these little phrase stickers to see if there's anything there that I can add. And I see one that's in black saying "love this," and that's added to that flower. And it again, it just gives a bit more dimension there. I was very happy with that. And then I see one saying "this" and one saying "moment," so I'll add that to the other photo. Just for balance, really. And then back in with the good old butterflies. So we'll use a pink one to bring out the pink in the dress and the fact that we're picking strawberries. So again, just mat it onto cardstock. Add the foam to the wings to give it flight, and then stick the body down. And then disaster strikes and I drop it onto my photo. Just carefully pull up that foam, and luckily it didn't damage it. I mean, it's not the end of the world. I could have reprinted it, but far better if I don't have to. And then I can't decide on the positioning, wasn't quite happy there, so it ends on the corner of the photo. And this is when I remember and see that the leaves are all dry. So cut those out and start adding them. And this really transforms those clusters from just flowers to the greenery and things, and extends the way the cluster looks. So just playing around with the leaves, working out exactly where they need to go. Whether I want the same colour or different colours. These ferns are gorgeous, a little bit fiddly to cut out, but not too bad. And this is another great thing, when you've painted with water, make sure that it goes over the edges, and then you can cut quite a chunky stem and things, and it's still green, it's not white. So if you're putting it against something else, it doesn't stand out as stark white. So here, just creating my own heart shape because I can't really see the outline of the original stamp. And this candied apple, in fact, is the perfect match to the colour of the strawberries. I'm really happy with that. The strawberries that Amelia's holding in her little box. So now I'm happy with the placement, just gluing these down. The fern. I know I've got more, so I'm just having a look at what it looks like on the right hand side and where I'm going to put it. And I'm happy with that, so I'll go back and cut another one in a minute. And as soon as I put those leaves there, I realised that I definitely want two different colours. There we go, much better. hoping that the mic isn't picking up the background noise. We're having some works done in our garden and the builders are being quite noisy today. They've got their radio on. I've just heard one of them singing. I don't know whether that was picked up or not. So again, just cutting out that other fern to add to the left-hand side. It ends up at the bottom again because, like I say, I wanted that diagonal line to bring your vision down from the top right to bottom left. And adding it above the cluster, it just didn't quite work. So yeah, much happier with that. And then another look through the sticker sheets, and I spot that half label that I'd used yesterday. I think, oh, that would be great to add to that little tab, but again, just working out the positioning. Very happy with it there. And once again, we've got a little cluster of 3. I think sometimes you do these things without even realising. And then this tag I realise will be great for my journaling. I don't really need to add a lot because it will go in the album with the one from yesterday. So it's just adding the date and the place. So I'll add some cotton thread to the hole. I just can't leave a tag without thread in it. So just adding the place, Kenyon Hall Farm, and then come back in with the date. I had to go and check the date because I'd written it on the photos and then forgotten to put it on a scrap piece of paper, so by the time I got to this point I couldn't remember. And that's more or less it. And then I just want to add some splatters, bring in some more of that navy blue. So again, using the watercolour paints, just a few dots around. I managed to get some of my photo because I've forgotten to cover that up. But I just dab it up with some kitchen towel and it's fine. And that's it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it and I'll see you next time. Bye.